If you have a mystery clunk over bumps in your vehicle, you're going to want to diagnose it. Now, as far as clunking, this vehicle actually has it coming from the rear of the vehicle, so that's where we're going to continue on with our diagnosis. Now, in the rear of the vehicle, obviously a quick suspension check is going to be necessary. Something to think about is you could either have independent suspension or a solid axle along the rear. If you have independent suspension, typically you're going to have multiple links that can move and pivot as necessary, possibly even some ball joints to pay attention to. Or you could have a solid axle, which would be a single axle making its way from one side of the vehicle all the way over to the other, with a differential in the center. Now, this type of suspension is really only going to pivot from one side to the other. Now, looking underneath the rear of this vehicle, we can clearly tell that we have independent rear suspension. We have several arms that make their way over towards one side of the vehicle, but not over to the other. It can function independently. On this particular application, it has bushings in between these areas, and you check them with something as basic as a pry bar. Now, obviously, that's a video of its own. We're going to continue on with the assumption that we've checked these as necessary. The next thing that people would want to pay attention to as far as a clunking noise could be a rear shock or strut. Now, that, of course, is suspension related. That's something that you're going to have to pay attention to. You want to make sure it's not cracked or damaged or even leaking in any way. If it is, you definitely want to go ahead and replace that. Now, there is one more area that we want to pay attention to, which is either commonly overlooked, or if it is looked at, it's misdiagnosed. And that's your rear sway bar links and rear sway bar bushings. For that, you don't want to have the vehicle up in the air. It doesn't make any sense. You're not going to be able to check it. Let's get this thing back on the ground. You could also put your vehicle on jack stands, but make sure that the rear suspension is in original ride height position. You hear that clunking noise? That's coming from this bushing area right here. You can see that there's movement in between our sway bar and that sway bar bushing. You don't want to have any movement. We also need to pay attention to our sway bar links. We know we need sway bar bushings, but look at the links as well. Now, as far as the links are concerned, typically they're going to be a ball and socket type of sway bar link. If you have any type of popping movement from these, you need to replace them. Sometimes you won't have any movement, but you might find that there's other issues, such as tear in the boots or anything the like. This one, ooh, oh yeah, good thing I spun it. That one's actually really bad. This isn't going to cause a clunking noise unless, of course, there was actually some sort of damage, but, of course, any type of debris might make its way inside there, and that's going to cause an issue. So now, obviously, we can tell that we definitely need sway bar bushings and sway bar links. Something that's important to note before you go to oneauto.com to order your parts, you need to make sure you measure the bar so you know exactly what diameter bushings you need to order. The inside diameter of these bushings can vary. So I'm going to order the parts that I need, we'll get them installed, and then of course we have to go ahead and take the vehicle for a road test to confirm that this was the only issue causing our clunking noise. And of course, once you have it apart, you need to confirm that the sway bar itself isn't rotted or damaged in the area where the sway bar bushing sits. Okay, so we're on our road test. We're listening for any odd noises. I don't hear anything. Some good news about this is, unlike other steering and suspension components, you do not need a four-wheel alignment when you replace your sway bar links or bushings.